Hello, guys, it's Pallav. We are back with another season of Running in Circles. Season one was successful, and that's why we're doing season two. In this season, we'll take the topics level up, and have some fun topics, and talk about some more serious topics. So to start with episode one, we have Rashmi and Vidya joining us. 2021 was a remarkable year. We graduated from college and took our first step into corporate by starting our first job. So in this episode we'll talk about how our experience has been, and because I'm sure a lot of you must have started your first job in some of the other way. So hello, Vidyuth and Rashmi.
Hi.
Hi, Pallav. Hello, everyone. It's great to be back.
Yeah, we're back with season two. All right, so to start off with, I'd say that what was your struggle and journey behind your first job, Vijay?
Yeah, sure. So, when it comes to, you know, the so-called struggle, to be very fair, I really didn't struggle a lot because when I sat for placements, most of my placements already got over because my intention during college was not for sitting for placements at all, because my aim was to crack the gate examination. uh, for a background, I graduated from PS with a background in electronics and communications, and I wanted to pursue that field uh, after my college as well. So I wanted to write the gate examination. Unfortunately, what happened was there were a few hiccups during the preparation stages, and I wasn't able to focus completely on gate. So it came to a point where uh, some 75% of the placements already got over.
And
And
then you joined.
I, yeah, and I never really focused on placement. So basically, I cannot say if I struggled for it. I
Hmm.
just, one day I got a mail from, uh, the campus placement cell saying that
Hmm.
PwC is coming for placements. I'm like, I might as well give it a shot. Like, why not? There's no harm in trying, right? So I
Hmm.
gave it a shot, and then I sat for placements. Uh,
Hmm.
the entire preparation for this was literally just one day before, uh, and I was just browsing through like the basics of Java and object oriented programming,
Hmm.
uh, and that was all I needed for a 20-minute interview with one of the senior associates
Hmm.
uh, at the firm.
Hmm.
And after that, everything is history. I just you know cracked
You
the
you made your
interview.
uh,
Yeah, I cracked the interview, and
uh,
then I got into PwC, and currently working as a data, I won't say data science, more like data engineer associate.
hmm.
So like I said, struggles not many, but I kind of did struggle
Journey
with my
was
preparation. Yeah, the
interesting.
journey was a very interesting one. Yes.
Hmm. All
So
right.
yeah.
What about you, Rashmi?
My journey was completely different, I would say, from what, you know, what Vidya had gone through. Mine was more on the terms of finding my own placements, so to say, finding my own jobs to look at, postings to look at through, career fairs that were in university, or through job postings on LinkedIn, and actually sitting and searching through them, applying through them, getting my resume done in a very professional manner so as to get through to the companies itself. And then
Hmm.
getting a lot of facing a lot of rejections, going through a lot of interviews, and then finally actually landing one job that was well suited for my degree and background. Studied HR, and now I'm in talent in HR itself. So that's pretty good for me. I'm just glad I, got something that really suits what I studied, I majored in, and I am able to continue that now.
Also for you, the struggle must have been a little different. Now, like being an Indian and studying in Dubai, I'm sure it wouldn't have been similar to a proper, like a citizen of Dubai, get applying for a job. So how different was that?
So we don't really have any placements, or sort to say, like, a guide as to you go here, you apply here, and then you are put into a job pool. That's not how it works over here. It's just like you find your own jobs. There's probably an opening on LinkedIn, you apply to it, you get it, you don't. That's how pretty much how things work over here. So in that regard, it was quite a struggle to actually figure out, how to make a proper resume, how to get your resume across to the to the job posters and the recruiters of the company, and for them to actually accept and interview you. That whole process was a very big learning curve for me, because only through rejections and through applying did I get to know what was wrong with my CV and how I could actually modify it and get it across to the right recruiters. So yes, a lot of interviews, a lot of training myself to speak better at interviews as well and get my CV across.
Yeah, yeah, that must have been quite a struggle. Yeah, so to talk about me, I think, my journey was a little similar to Vidyut, as in, I had college placements, and, the university used to prepare us for placements, about, how to make your resume, about, some guides that'll help you get through the first round, which is usually like a test or something. So, I my goal was to, get a job, and, then, think about other things, like, giving an exam, or, applying for masters. Uh, so the preparation was good. The university prepared most of us very well for, for the companies. A lot of companies, came initially, but, I realized that, being from, having studied bachelor's in electronics, and, aiming for a computer science job is little difficult, than, if you had studied computer science in your bachelor's, and, landing that job. So initially, when there were so many good companies coming, like, Atlassian, or Oracle, or ServiceNow, or something, the I struggled a lot to, clear those exams. And that was naturally because, I didn't study the concepts that they had asked in the exam. So, those things were, when you fail the first round, that's pretty disappointing. You feel like, if you're failing here, there's no point going to the next round of the interview and stuff. So I think it took me, I mean, the first 2 months, I didn't clear a lot of exams. But so these 2 months were, a lot of realization that, you know it's okay that, you can't clear the exam, because if you can't clear the first round only, there's no point going to the interview. So after that, the first ever company came for a data science role. And I really thought I was, really good. That role was meant for me. So I remember that the first ever company which came for data science, the first round was, not like competitive coding, or, Java or C round. It was a Python round. So that was really my shot, and I really, cracked my way into that company. So I feel very, grateful that the first ever role which came from me, and, I could crack that. So that was, one aspect of, college which I wanted to sort was over. So after that, what we have to do is, in our last semester, we, like, companies, take our resume, and, they decide if they want to, give us a chance to intern at their company. So, I made an honest resume about things that I can do, and, what are my skill sets and stuff. So uh, and then the university send this resume to, every company, most companies in India. So during that, I got selected by, JP Morgan. And, after that, it's been, great. So I started out working last year in Feb as an intern. 6 months, like, the period of internship was 6 months. And, based on how you did on your internship, they'd evaluate you whether you're eligible for full time. So yeah, that work was good. And, finally, I'm working as an analyst at JP Morgan. So yeah, what I've been trying to say is, uh, getting your first job is not about applying for every company. It's about what role is best for you, and coming to realization of that. So yeah.
Yep, that's actually very, you know, it's almost as if you have, like, the mix of both of us here. I mean,
Yeah.
you have the company pool that came to your campus, but you still had to struggle to get the right. Uh,
Yeah, I mean,
you
I
don't mind.
remember sharing the same journey as Rashmi. Like
Hmm.
when in the first 2 months when I wasn't clearing the first round, I was applying to a lot of different places through LinkedIn. I did clear the first round in a few of them, but I really knew I was JP Morgan was the thing that I wanted to get into. Uh,
Right.
yeah. All right. So how different has your first job felt from your usual college projects with it?
Oh, when you talk about college specific projects, very, very, very different, because what did I do in college? I basically passionately worked on RF transmitters and basically, core electronics. So it's all related to, uh, terms that I am very comfortable with, which I've been hearing for 4 years, like, analog communications.
Yeah.
Yeah, so these terms were literally drummed down. And then I was fortunate enough to get a very passionate group to work with as well, right? Including a very
Hmm.
passionate guide.
Hmm.
So when it came to a college related project, it was, I was ready to do everything for this. Now once I shifted to a firm, like a consulting firm, right? So clients can be anyone, right? First of all, I am shifting roles from electronics engineering to data engineering, right? So it's almost a 180 for me, right?
Correct.
It's softwares that I've never used before, but I've just, looked at it
You knew
from
about it.
yeah, I just knew about it, looked at it on articles and so on and so forth.
Hmm.
So first of all, that's almost like a culture shock to me at this point. So I'm a little wary about how to go about things like cloud computing and
Hmm.
database management. And so that's a very interesting take when it comes to
Hmm.
my specific role. And secondly, related to projects, I am still unaware of how the entire project field is, because I am still in the process of, this thing called shadow training, where they
Hmm.
will they will be telling you how client calls will go about, and
Hmm.
they will let you into the work environment,
Hmm.
right? So it's certainly going to be a very different journey from what I had
Do you think your
usually
shadow training
experienced.
has been a little long, or are you happy with the way
No, no,
things are
no. My
flowing?
shadow training has not started yet. I just know
Hmm.
what it is.
Right.
So till now, it was just, with the consulting firm, which is in the top four, right? The thing
Hmm.
with them is and especially it's a finance-based consulting firm, right? So they have
Hmm.
tons of rules and regulations.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So right, and they there are so many rules and regulations that you have courses on them. So that's what I've been going through so far. So I have to learn all the
Hmm.
ethics behind working in such a company. What are the rules when you have to, talk about client confidential information, so on and so forth, the risk behind it, off-row and things like
Hmm.
that, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
So it's a very interesting take. It's almost new horizons for me, right? So i- it's I'm not saying it's not difficult. It's just very new to me. So
Hmm.
that's the contrast between the projects that I've done in college, because in college you know what to do, and here it's a big question mark. And one lucky thing for me is with a firm like this in
Hmm.
PwC,
Hmm.
uh, their motto is literally, when you're in doubt, you yourself can ask for help, right? You can go consult, right,
Hmm.
for help. So
So
everyone
that
there are
motto
super.
has
Yeah,
resonated with
so
you.
everyone there are super helpful. So
Hmm.
if you are going through some difficult phase, you can speak to literally anyone across the entire organization structure, and they would still treat you as a colleague like anyone else within the firm.
Hmm.
So that has been the very drastic you know change that I have seen.
Hmm. What about you, Rashmi?
I think from my college projects, my college work projects are more based on um, HR being the theories, learning from it, and how the theories apply in the organizations itself. But only when I came to the organization was I able to figure out how those theories actually apply in real life, and how actually we could build upon it. I joined a startup, not a big company, and for that, a lot of processes are not in place, unlike with Youth's
Hmm.
experience, where I had to like be involved in the whole process of building everything from
Hmm.
from the scratch. And so these theories really helped me build my foundations into seeing how I can take my theories and
And
build new
apply it.
models, and yeah, build new models and processes on top of it. That was a big learning curve for me. It was similar in the sense of, yes, working in groups, cooperating with people, learning to talk to a lot of different people from a different backgrounds and ethnicities, communicating, making presentations, pitching it to people, getting the approvals across. These are the different things that were similar in nature, but
Hmm.
different in the sense of the actual nature of the projects were quite
Hmm.
different and quite hectic, to be truthful.
Hmm.
It was not as simple as college projects, which
Yeah.
I would say. This is more college projects in the sense, in the end of the day, it's only a grade that matters to you. It's
Correct.
only about
Yeah.
getting the grade, right? But for a business itself, it's about actually implementing it and getting results. And if you don't get the results in the end of the day, it's going to backfire on you, and you're going to face the consequences of it. So you have to
Hmm.
always make sure that doing your work throughout entirely right. You are double checking everything. You're making sure all the processes are in place before actually going ahead and implementing it. uh, Whereas in college, you have the leeway to make mistakes, to fall back
Yeah.
on probably your teammates or someone else's help. Here you
Hmm.
rely on yourself more than anyone else. So I guess these are the major differences I have seen in my work experience.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. I mean, it's. I agree that it's similar and a lot little different. Like so, like Vidyut works in consulting and you work in HR. And I work in research and development. Uh, so in the initial few months of in my internship, I couldn't honestly couldn't spot the difference between the work I used to do for college and the work I do for the company, because I was doing the same things, reading papers, building the things from the build, applying the things that I've learned from the papers, and building new technologies and stuff. In a college environment, it's usually a professor who you approach for your doubts, and in a company, it's the equivalent figurehead would be your manager. Uh, so initially, it did feel like the work was same, except that this time you're getting paid for it. But as I got deep into the internship, that was the differences become more larger than the similarities, as in like the number of people you have to interact with is way more than your university. And like suppose uh you need to know someone, then or like you need an approval from someone, as you said, then there's a hierarchy to it, and you need to know that hierarchy. And again, as Vidyut said, being in a financial firm, there are many rules and regulations which you need to be aware of, because you being in a financial firm, you can't leak stuff to like beyond your firm. So you have to be aware of that. And the I'd say the limitations are there in a company, and that's certainly not the case with university. You can do a lot of open source work in through universities and stuff like that. uh, all right, so moving on, Vidyut, what do you think has been like your biggest learning from the past 6 months or like 7 months that you've been working?
Yeah. So my biggest learning, that's That's a very weird learning. It's more like I've just uh, let's
Begun.
say I've improved on my patience when it comes to seeking jobs and essentially. So I can tie this back up to the first question, or like the first point of discussion of what were the struggles. To be fair, my struggles are starting now.
Mm.
So, uh, like I said, my passion is aligned at a different vertical. So I need to work on that, right? I need to realign my strategies. I need to figure out what I should do, and I need to start balancing work and studies, right? So this is where the struggles are actually going to start for me.
Mm.
So, and like people have, when people say that once you start working, trying to learn like how I mean trying to study like how you used to do in college, it's not going to happen, right? And at that point of time I used to just brush it off saying that, nah, I could do it, I can do it, kind of attitude. But
Yeah.
now I'm learning that it's true, because you have to learn two things at once. And secondly, you're being paid, right? Maybe you can just
Yeah.
work much efficiently, work harder, and you can work up the ranks of your office, right?
Mm. Mm.
So there's that option as well. But certainly that's not my aim. My aim is to properly align myself to what I'd like to do, right?
Mm.
So I've learned to I'm actually learning what patience is, right,
Mm.
through this process. And secondly, I could say it's the biggest learning is how business works. Uh, I've
Yeah.
never, I
That.
have never, yeah. So 4 years of engineering, all I've heard are how transistors work, how electrons move. Now I'm actually realizing that there are so many things in place just for a simple transaction to happen within a
Yeah.
company, right?
Yeah.
There are so many things in place for just a single transaction you make for yourself within the company. So it puts me into a perspective in the business light, right? So I
Yeah.
can that's one of the biggest learning I can take away. And that's something that my father has been saying, like, it's a good thing that you're working in such a firm, because a, it's a financial firm, and finance is something that you shouldn't take lightly. You engineers tend to
Absolutely.
take it pretty lightly, right?
Yeah.
Especially, when things are already there in place for you, why would you need to bother, right?
Yeah.
But once you are in a financial firm, there are so many there are so many people you have to meet. There are so many, processes that you have to follow. And it's a very, very big learning curve when it comes to you, not as, a student, but more as a responsible citizen of the society. So that's one of the biggest learning I have to take away from joining
Mm.
this firm.
Yeah.
So I mean, the other ones are obviously related to how to talk to people, how to you know and it's a very interesting term that I've heard in consulting.
Mm.
It's empathy. The term empathy is
Yeah.
used a lot in consulting, and that's something I'm learning as well.
Yeah. I think they've taught us that also during training. Like you need to be empathetic to your
Empathetic, yeah,
yeah,
empathy.
empathetic to your customers rather than sympathetic.
Yep.
I think that's a common word across multiple companies. Yeah. So what about you, Rashmi? What has been your biggest learning experience?
I think from my university life, as I had said, my first job did not come with a lot of manuals and trainings and learning
Yeah.
processes, which you people have gone through. And, I wish I had gone through, but honestly, it has given me a lot of experience in terms of how.
Building a company.
Exactly. Like in building a company, how to start my own processes, working quite independently, and, trying to figure out stuff on your own without the help of others, without a mentor to actually, fall back on, to look up to, for someone to actually train you through your first dates. None of that was given to me. I was just there on my first day and they said, start doing what you do. And
Mm.
fresh out of college was just internship experience. I did not even know where to start. So that it was a huge huge obstacle for me to overcome, where to figure out how I could actually plan out my day. What should I focus on, what should I not be focusing on? And one of my biggest issues was actually reading through and making sure my work adheres to what the company is looking into, rather than what I feel like the company would it would be better off with the company. So that was the biggest learning curve for me, of how I could build processes in terms of the company rather than in terms of me.
Mm.
uh, that was a huge learning curve. Secondly, I would say is that it was quite different from college. Yes, you do learn a lot of theories, you go through a lot of studies, and you see all these business models on how a business actually works and how you can communicate to people. And as Vidyut said, but unless you're actually in the business, you don't really know how
Mm.
the business actually works and how you can
Yeah.
start communicating to people. And how you could work with them collaboratively, how you can take no for an answer, how you could actually improve upon your processes, and mistakes, how can it be corrected? These are the different kinds of things that came. It was not only like the hard skills which I improved upon, but also the soft skills, I would
Mm.
say, like communication, growth drive, potential, and all of that.
Mm.
So yes, I guess both went hand in hand together, and I learned quite a bit.
Yeah. Yeah, that's interesting. I know it must be, really good that, uh, you're working at an internship where, you are like in the development stage of like the company that your policy is, and you get to be involved in that. So sure, that must
Yeah.
be great.
I think it's very interesting, because in the end of the day, now I'm almost 1 year. I'm finishing almost a year at my job, and the process that I actually started out building in the
Early
the
stages.
early stages of my career, now I can actually see them being fruitful and bringing in
Mm.
results and values into, and adding some value into the company, and that really
Mm.
is rewarding to
Satisfying.
me. Yeah, it is very rewarding to see your own hard work and your effort put into play, and then it actually being fruitful in the end of the day, and you can see it, how it's making a positive change to the company. And in it gives me a great stepping stone into the my next career stage as well, because I can go on to say that I not only know how to operate these functions, but also I know how to build it
Develop,
from.
build it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so
Got
that's
it.
very good.
Yeah. Yeah, so for me, the biggest learning has been, in two directions, I would say. One is understanding the way the business works, and second one is understanding the way the corporate works. So being in a large firm as JP, the business understanding is very critical to the work that you do. Initially, I wasn't taking that very seriously, but when you get involved in more difficult projects, and you understand the way things are working, uh, so the business understanding of the firm was very large curve. I feel like you know I'll keep learning more and more about the firm the more I keep working. And the second one is it's the whole corporate experience. Like, I remember, uh, I've never used Outlook before, so the first day of internship, you get your mail, and you get Outlook, and you have to learn Outlook by yourself. So it wasn't that difficult, but you still have to learn about that. And like, the infrastructure in a large firm is very big. Like, you need to understand how to deal with stuff like Jira, and Bitbucket, and ServiceNow, and stuff. So uh, those things aren't taught in college. Like, yeah, you may have used GitHub before, but in a firm, it's a different thing altogether. It's not the same. And it's basically the infrastructure is very massive. So if you want to request something, there's a particular way to do it. It's not as straightforward as university, where you can just like send an email, and things can get done. um, so yeah, that's pretty much what I mean. It's a big learning curve, obviously, but that's what I've learned so far in the eight months that I've been with the firm. So any last few words on getting your first job?
Uh,
last few words, my would mostly be related to, again, my learnings that I've uh, you know been through.
Hmm.
And I am certainly excited for an actual client project that I would
Hmm.
be staffed in. So uh, it's it's a like I said before, it's all a new horizon for
Hmm.
me to test out my skills that I have not really worked upon. These skills weren't taught in college. These skills are
Yeah.
literally just taught in the course of few months, and these skills would mostly be developed as you work more. So it's a very uh, challenging phase, and I'm always up for these kind of challenges when it comes to
Hmm.
that test something which uh, I have really not worked upon before, right? And when it comes to a firm like initially I used to be a little hesitant towards consulting based solutions. I used to
Hmm.
be a little I used to draw myself away from it
Hmm.
when I immediately got placed and when I was going through the trainings. But then few people told me that first of all, you're working on a consulting based firm, so don't undermine the challenges that come with that, right? So
Hmm.
you have to give it all your efforts, and whining your way will never help you out.
Hmm.
And secondly, you're working in a field that is very, very demanding. That is data engineering.
Hmm.
It's very demanding because data science is growing, and you need to process the data before it goes to the data scientists. So you are like the foundation for data scientists. So you are working in a field where you know let's say if you have to if you have to grow in the career phase,
Hmm.
people will look at this as a very big plus point that you have worked
Yeah.
on major data engineering projects, right? So
Yeah.
I have been pointed these things out, and I have taken that seriously, and now I'm just excited for what the future
What's
holds for
coming
me.
next? Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Rashmi, any last few words?
Uh, Based on my experience, all I would say is, even if you just out of college, even if you're applying for
Hmm.
jobs,
Hmm.
the first thing would be to actually not give up on the process, to
Yeah,
actually
man.
stick through it,
Totally agree. Yeah.
and because you would face a lot of rejections to begin with, but that is the whole point of learning. That's the only way you would actually learn, by going through it and finishing it. Even if you get rejected, always think of it as a positive experience. At least look at it in terms of you learned something in the end of the day. You at least know what in the next interview, what to prepare for, what you could do better, how you could say something better. So even through rejections, all I would say is stick through it, because in the end of the day, you will end up somewhere where you would learn a lot of things. And you would end up somewhere, even though you might not have thought that this is where you will end up in, you will end
Hmm.
up in a good place. And yeah, the experience will bring about value to your life in the end of the day.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I'd say, similar things as, uh, getting a job is obviously very difficult, but you've got to deal with the rejections and the learnings from there first, and then once you get your first job, there also it's a steep learning curve, which goes on for like at least 2-3 years, I'm sure. And yeah, I think that was a pretty good episode on getting your first job. uh, all right then, I'll see you guys in the next episode.
Yes, thank you for
Yeah.
having us.
Thank you so much.
Yep.
See you
Good
later.
one.